G'day, welcome to the Fortnightly update. We're doing this in the bedroom at the moment because it's 4:10 in the afternoon as of recording right now, and I'm about to hit the hay due to horrible sleeping habits. But I'm trying to keep up on this Fortnightly update thing, so what have I been up to? The last couple of weeks, been pretty chill actually. Like last night, the biggest thing that I did probably is I went to the WWE event that was here. It's not a really big pay-per-view or one of their tapings, but rather it's a live event. But, you know, they rarely get out this way, so I was like, you know what, why not, make the effort, get out there. Was able to go with Ryan, so we were able to catch the Hardys and Kurt Angle, which is, they're pretty rare to get on someone's wrestling bucket list. I mean, even though Kurt's not wrestling anymore, just to see him in the flesh and be able to, say, wow, that's the guy, and to be able to participate in the "You Suck" chants, which is it's weird. I've always thought about that, how it's like there's that odd. It must be a wrestling thing where you chant "You suck" to a person that you revere as a talent. It's weird, but I mean he takes it in his stride, and so I mean he knows that everyone's just doing it because that's part of the tradition of his character that he's always had in the WWE. But yeah, it was a great show. The Hardys were really good. I know that, as the years go on, bodies start to slow down and age always wins out in the end, but they were on fire. They were against Sheamus and Cesaro, the Cesaro team, I think they've been calling it. And man, it was crazy. And what was it? I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure in that same match we saw them do the Dudley Boys finisher. It's very interesting to see, when these people live, because that atmosphere and that live atmosphere, much with the boxing, it really does change and add a little bit more to every match. So even though you're like, oh great, we're getting a fucking battle royal, because one, the WWE rarely makes its way out to Australia, but so when you see someone, it's like, oh look, it's Jason Jordan. You're like, yeah, he's pretty good. He's Kurt Angle's son. But when he comes out, everyone's losing their minds, and they're just like, we can't believe that it's finally happening. There's actually the WWE here. So you can only imagine when someone who's legitimately over, for example, the Dean Ambrose, who's a much more established character, comes out. Fucking crowd goes crazy. The music is so loud that you can feel it right here reverberating through you, and it's just like, man, I might get some fucking heart palpitations pretty soon. And then the crowd chants everything. You get the delete chants from the Hardys. It was amazing, and Jeff even made the effort to run around, and he ran up out of the, just out of the alleyway. Sorry, not the alleyway, the fucking ramp, and he ran out into the crowd, and he was just meeting and greeting some people before he went out, and yeah, it was good. One of the things that I was surprised about is Roman Reigns, when he came out eventually at the very end, it was like almost no one booed him. It was very weird. He was extremely over here, and it might just be because he is over here. But yeah, I mean, it was a very enjoyable event, and I'm happy that I went, and yeah, I might even go in future, but I think I've still got to try and make it out to a pay-per-view at some point, and so that'll be the goal. And yeah, if I could ever hit up one of those GFW shows, that'd be great too. But I just really need to go to a pay-per-view event, because every live event I've been to, the atmosphere really helps add to it, so I'm only imagining that once I get to a pay-per-view and there's that next level hype, it'll probably be an unforgettable experience. But aside from that, my week has been pretty chill since you last heard from me on the podcast, or you last will hear from me in the podcast when it eventually comes out. I know, it's I'm very awful with editing those, but it's more of a case of finding time, because as I said on the last podcast, there's a lot of cleaning and packing and things that I've been doing recently, but these are ultimately just excuses. I can find the time, and obviously I've been spending the time elsewhere, I've been playing Breaker's Revenge, and Breaker's Revenge is super fun, and I think I will have some matches on that in the near future on the channel. Because I really did like the regular Breakers match that I put up with Ryan, where it was like Show and Condor. And we played Fight Fever, which went up, and that was fucking awful. And Fight Fever is not the greatest game. And for some reason, when I put it up, it lost all its audio. But I hear that, YouTube has been having those issues. And it's such a minor fucking issue that it's not a big deal to me. So YouTube's got other stuff to worry about. Then you hear, like, I've been trying to keep on the whole point-and-click adventure games for September, and one of my happiest things is Jesse went and finished Monkey Island, The Secret of Monkey Island, #1, and I was really happy to hear that, obviously it's me taking this. He didn't actually outwardly say this to me, but I feel like by putting more and more up on the channel, he's like, you know what, maybe I should go back and finish that. But that's just me saying that I'm taking credit for something that he's not giving me credit for, or I'm not saying that I deserve that credit, but I'm stealing that from him. I'm officially taking that over, even if he doesn't want me, or even if it's not true. But yeah, I put up Zach McCracken and Maniac Mansion and Loom. All of those games, which are good, but I feel like Loom is the weakest one of the three, and that's only because of how short it was, and it just lost potential. Like, Zack McCracken is a fun game, and while it may be short, and same with Maniac Mansion, they're both fun comedic experiences, but that's the main thing. They tie into comedy, and they're fun little gags, and the entire story is almost like, it's just a way to connect little skits together. While Loom went on a different path, where it's like, let's tell an actual story, and so then it was more like, okay, well, you didn't flesh out the story, and there wasn't enough gags to make it gag-centric or gag-focused. So it just is like, okay, well, you're just telling me a shorter story, but I'm not saying, and I might have been a little too harsh in the Loom video, because, I mean, at the end of the day, it's still above average, and I do really like it. It's just, it's not as good as other games that I've played in the same genre, and it's hard to, say, you know what, you should play Loom over, Maniac Mansion or Day of the Tentacle, because it's like the only thing going for it is this story, and they don't really finish it that well. And I've heard, and there's been discussions, and I've looked into interviews and how people were saying that he had, the main writer had plans to make it into a trilogy. Well, they came to him and was like, how would you like to do this? And it just never realized. But as it stands, that's how I have to talk about it, and I felt that I conveyed what I wanted to convey in those videos. Aside from that, I played a couple of arcade games with Ryan the other day. Yeah, we played Hyperdyne Sidearms, and that game is just made to eat money. It's just fucking made to do that. It's fun, and the soundtrack is really killer, but I don't know, man. It's like, you play it with a friend and expect to spend a lot of money. Is it worth finishing? No, not... Look, I'm sure that there are people out there that'll get really fucking good at it, and I'm notoriously bad at those kind of bullet hell things, and it's not even the hardest bullet hell thing. It's just like, when you come back and you spawn on the screen, and then you happen to just, unfortunately, spawn in an area which is rock, and you just spawn there, and you just die, and you blow up, and you're like, oh man, that's not fun. But yeah, I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that are really good at it. And the other arcade game we played was, depending on where you live, it can be Too Crude Dudes, Crude Buster, but we played Too Crude. And Too Crude is fucking great. If you like Bad Dudes versus Dragon Ninja and that style of cheesiness, you're gonna love Too Crude. I mean, it's someone fires a nuke into New York City in 2010, and this is fucking news to me, because I didn't hear about that 7 years ago. But in 13 years, apparently, in 2030, the president's just like, you know what? Just send fucking 2 crude dudes into New York City to reclaim it and take out the gangs of people that are roving there. Just take them out so we can start resettling and rebuilding, and that's your game from there. And it's funny. I feel like that is Ryan and I's perfect sort of niche of comedy and fun, where we get those kind of games and we're just like, man, this is our humor to a T. So we had a lot of fun with that one. And while I'd say it's also not the greatest game, I think that the sheer amount of fun we had from that one kind of boosts its rating up in my eyes. Aside from that, since I was going the point and click adventures, this is going to be a spoiler. I'm not sure when this will come up. It should be coming up, like, you know what, I might even edit it up before I go to sleep. But I have been finishing a few more of those point-and-click adventure games, and one of the ones that I've been wanting to talk about, and I've kind of held it close to my chest, and it was kind of talked about a little bit on the previous podcast, which you guys will probably hear in like 60 years, knowing my work ethic, but it was Sam & Max Hit the Road. I loved that game as a kid. I was one of the few people that had seen the comic, and then it's weird. I feel like I would never have played Sam & Max if I had seen it on the shelf, based on its cover, because it looked so like nothing I would want. It has, you know, a dog and a rabbit in the cutesy, funny style, and, you know, it might be right next to Freddy Fish. This isn't me. This is obviously for, like, you know, little kindergartners and preschoolers and stuff like that. And I would never have played that as a kid if I didn't have older influencers who collected comics and stuff, and they would just be like, hey, have you heard about this one? And the reason I liked, and I gave Sam & Max a chance when I was younger, is because those comics were funny. I'm not sure how they hold up. Mac was saying, because he recently talked about the comics on the podcast, he was saying that he thought that they were funny, but he just didn't like the fourth wall thing. But when I was reading them when I was younger, I feel like the fourth wall hadn't been overdone in media as much as it had been today, like especially with the Deadpool movie just being all about breaking the fourth wall and nothing else. Full disclosure, I haven't actually seen that movie. I have no desire to, but knowing Deadpool, I'm sure it's got some fourth wall breaking stuff. And in fact, I'm seeing in some of the trailers that, you know, he turns to the audience and, yeah, it wasn't as obnoxious back in the day when it wasn't overdone. But yeah, and so I gave it a chance. I was like, Sam & Max have their own video game? What the fuck? I thought that this was like some, things have changed, but back in the day, where I'd be like, there's video games about comics? Like, they were so, like, not thought about. Like, when I played The Death and Return of Superman on the SNES, that was like, holy shit, I'm like living the comic book, even though it's very, very weird. And I'm pretty sure Blizzard made that game, but yeah, it just wasn't a thing that I was used to. I wasn't used to comics being mainstream, so I'm like, Sam & Max? And I had a lot of fun with that. And I would never have played it just based on, like, the box art and stuff. And if I didn't know beforehand. And it's just one of those things that I guess box art really does matter, or even not, if it's not to me to this day, but definitely to the younger people. If they look at a box, and there's a lot to be said, like, I love creative, artistic box art. I think that that's like a lost art sometimes. But I can only imagine if Breath of Fire didn't, you know, have that hulking, almost Conan-esque style fantasy generic guy on the front. But if he wasn't there, Ryu in his fucking roided out muscle pro wrestler state, I'm not sure if I would have played that. And there's a lot of things that I didn't play. Like, I didn't play Conker's Bad Fur Day for the Nintendo 64 because I saw that he was a squirrel and he was happy and he was all like, I'm like, I don't need that shit. And then I come to find out all these years later, I'm like, that's a really raunchy game, but at the time, just, yeah. So I guess when, I can't complain when I go into a store and I see, you know, military shooter guy number 574 on a cover walking through a desert and then, you know, explosions behind him, because I'm like, hey, you know, Stuart, if you were younger, this would, you know, you'd pick this up over something like Okami, which has a wolf water painting Japanese art style on the front, because you're just like, well, this is a wolf, and this looks boring because it's all watercolory. And, you know, that's not my opinion now, but when I was younger, that's definitely it. Like, sword and sorcery was king. although not Dungeons and Dragons, I was never a big fan of that. Still not, to be honest. But apart from that, I played Sam & Max Save the World for the first time. I'd never actually played any others of the series, but after Hit the Road and going back and sort of doing a little video about it, I was like, well, where did Sam & Max end up going? Because Hit the Road really made me. It's not perfect, but it really made me go, oh man, I know that Sam & Max went on to do some stuff in Telltale, but let's see what that's all about. And it was fucking great. It was like one of the most fun I'd had in, like, as of right now, I think it's Telltale's best game. To be fair, when I say that, I mean, I've only played Walking Dead, Wolf Among Us. I really do like Wolf Among Us, though, but I like Fables, the comic, more. Tales of the Borderlands, and, there's another one that I've just fucking mentally blanked on because it just wasn't... I know I played another one, but it just wasn't sticking with me. So that should tell you all you need to know, really. But Sam & Max Save the World is fucking hilarious. It's so funny, and, like, every character is great in that. Like, there's no character that's just like, oh, I can see that this is supposed to be a parody or a pastiche of something, but it's just not funny. Or it's like, this is an archetype of a character, it's just not a good, funny, or amusing one. And so it's like, Bosco. Bosco was one of the fucking funniest characters to me in that entire thing, and I always, every time I booted it up, I'd always go to Bosco's Inconvenience, every chapter of the game, because I'm like, you know what, let's see this. The presidential race, it's always, one of the things I do like about Sam & Max, even from their comic days, is like the fucking sheer amount of crazy escalation they go. Like, I should have known going into this game that you would eventually have Max as president and you'd be going to the moon and you would sell the United States to become Lower Saskatchewan. I should have fucking known that there would be some amount of bullshit like that. But even like when you do sell the United States, they change all the American flags to Canadian flags. And when you become the president, they change the logo on your car to like the presidential logo, and it's like, it's just so much fun. And it's one of those games where it's like, you know what? I want to talk to everyone. I want to investigate everything. Even if I don't think that this might be relevant to any form of puzzle, I want to investigate it just to hear what they have to say about the lines of dialogue. And I reckon that is the perfect thing. And I must have told... Jesse and Ryan must be fucking hating me right now because I've been really driving that Midtown Cowboys theme song. They're probably hiding a cow. I think that's like one of the greatest gags in all of the thing. And now there's more. Like there's other Sam & Max games that I want to go to. The only thing I'm worried about is like if I play them in quick succession, then I will be like, I'll get used to it. And then I'll start being like, well, this is more of the same. And I think it's just from the fact of, I went back and I took a look at Hit the Road. And I had a lot of fun with that. And, even though I'd finished it as a kid, I just went through and quickly just looked around, and it got that hunger back for it's like, man, I wish there was another Sam & Max game. And I was like, oh, wait, there are. And so, picking up Save the World, that was like, it was the meal I ordered, essentially, sorry. It was the meal I ordered, so once it got there, and I was very happy with it. I'm just afraid that if I order the same meal again, then I'll be like, well, I was already pretty full with the last one, and now it's just, I'm not in the proper mindset to enjoy it. But who knows, I might go and, get it anyway, because I had so much fun, and it was just, like, unexpected. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been up to. Just that. I have no idea what I'm going to be doing this week. I think there's going to be more packing and cleaning and getting things ready. I'm going to drink the remainder of this iced coffee because that is what sustains my existence. And I'm going to edit this. I'm going to put it up. Hopefully it'll be up tonight. But yeah, and then I'm gonna go to sleep, and I'll wake up in the middle of the night, and it'll be another day, another dollar. So I think that's where we'll leave it this time. Thank you guys for listening, and I'm glad that I put up that Fortnightly thing, because this has been a fun little thing to just talk to you guys and get all the thoughts out of my head. So, I mean, yeah, thank you guys for listening. I'll catch you in a fortnight.